diagram, right?
Yeah, one of these equal 30 pounds. So then if you try to multiply up to 416, you'll get around 13% on the calculator.
Does that make sense what he showed you?
Yeah.
So if one of those equals 30 pounds, what do two of those equal? What's 2%?
60.
60 pounds, what would 3% equal?
90.
90. So is there a way that you can test that if you selected 13%, it would be close to 416?
You can count them by 30.
Yeah, because like 30 times 14 equals 420, and then like, yeah, if you remove 0.2, I'm guessing, like each is probably I forgot what I was gonna explain.
No, you're onto it, and you guys are onto proving that this is right. So that's going to help you when you get onto the next few problems. So keep that in mind, that when you have 1%, 1 square, and it equals 30 pounds, like you said, you could just keep repeatedly adding this until you get close to 416. Or like you guys tried, you divided 416 into 30 pieces. Okay. Anyway.
Like it's an amount of $8.
Which page did you guys decide to do? The Penguin?
Yeah.
All right. How's it going so far?
Question number 7.
Oh, okay. How did you guys do this one? Number 7. How are you working on it?
We have to find out.
With 1 square is first. So then once we found out that 1 square is 30 limbs now, or 30 pounds, now we have to figure out how many pounds it would, or how many
Squares we have to
squares to
shade
shade
in to find out 416.
Okay, so what are you trying?
Well, we tried dividing 416 by 30, but it didn't work out.
And you know, we're not going to find how much in total per week.
So why doesn't the decimal work out?
Allowance. Well, I think it might work out if we just remember 4 squares. Since 416 divided by 30 will end up in the repeated decimal.
13.866.
Okay. Does that 13, does that represent a percent or does that represent pounds?
Square. It's 1 small square is 30 pounds.
What we did
How
was
much of a percent is one small square? What does one small square represent? 30 pounds, but in terms of percentages, 1%. So 1% is 30 pounds, right? So you're trying to figure out how many you need to shade, what percent of the square you need to shade to get 416 pounds? Okay. So you divided, talk to me about why you divided 416 by 30 then.
Since 416 is a total count to shade, and 30 pounds is 1 small square, we need to divide and get how many squares we need.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, Alvin, what do you think? If this is 1% is 30 pounds, how much is 2%? Yeah, so 2 small squares is 60 pounds, right? Okay, what about 3 small squares? 90%. What's he doing?
Adding 30 each time.
Adding 30 each time. So every time you add a percent, you add 30 what? Pounds, right? So what could you do to prove that your answer is close? Until when?
To get to or close to 416.
Okay, try that. You might want to have someone keeping track of how many squares or how many percentages you're.
Plus 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus
You guys are working all of this. Let's work off of just one iPad so that way you guys all know what the other is doing. So I'm going to set this aside until we do the learning log at the end. Okay, so what are you guys on? 5? Okay, what have you tried so far?
Tried dividing 8 divided 50.
Why is that?
Because it says each small square in the unit equals 8 pounds.
Okay.
And then we want to find how many pounds with 50 small squares represent. So we decided to divide 50 divided by 8, and we came out with a decimal of 6.25.
Well,
Yes.
can you show me on the grid why your answer makes sense? So one of those small squares is 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you want to know how many 50 of those is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So show me on the grid what you would do to figure out how many 50 squares is equal to. What percent 50 squares is equal to?
This is 50, so
So that's 50 small squares?
Yeah.
And they're each equal 8?
yeah.
So what could you do to figure out how much all those 50 are together?
Multiply. So 8 times 50.
And that makes sense, right? Yeah. What do you think, Joseph?
I came out with the answer first, but I wasn't sure.
Are you sure now?
Yeah.
So right now, Shane is 54.
Okay, and that would probably help you figure out number 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so 30. No, you
Pounds
26.
He represents all small squares.
So it's 200. So this is easy. So all these equals 200.
No, 8 pounds.
8. Yeah. So 8 times 200.
This is 26.
It says how many pounds will be represented if all the small squares fill it. So basically 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 61, 72. Yeah. Wait, no, you keep counting.
800. If one square is 800, or equals 100, it's 800.
Oh, yeah.
There's 100 squares.
How much is this right here?
It's
5, 6, 7, 8, 10,
that's 80.
20, 30,
80.
hold on, 160, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100.
So
800.
8. 8 times 100. I understand. Number 8 square would use shade to represent 416 pounds. That's like half plus 2. So it's 1, 1,
15 half.
Talk to me about what you are working on.
We're working on number 9. 65% of the 790 calories in Angus bacon and cheese sandwich from McDonald's comes from fat. Use the unit square to represent this. So we have to, the whole square is going to be 790. So then we have to shade in 65% of it. And so, but we have to find what one square is.
Okay, so you're going to start by shading in 65%?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
There. And then 790 divided by 100 is 7.9. 7.9 is 1 square. So, isn't that represented already?
What are you trying to represent?
Use the unit square to represent this.
So that represents so you guys can see, that represents 65% of 790. Okay.
She got the 1 unit square 7.9.
Okay, so what's the what percent does that represent, that one square? 1%.
I think So, you get it?
113.5 calories. Is that surprising?
No.
Have you ever eaten an Angus bacon and cheddar cheese sandwich? No. Me neither.
I don't like cheese.
Now it seems really greasy.
Is this a real fact though?
It's a real fact. We're trying to make you guys healthy and learn math at the same time.
Okay, 650 students. I mean,
No, how much 2 pounds?
So what methods are you guys using?
Proportions and
Good, that makes sense. So you did okay with any of these increased ones? Talk to me about the Emily allowance one, why that makes sense.
Well, she gets $8 a week, so that would be a whole week. And then her mom gives her 1% of a raise per year. And so
then 80 cents, 80 cents is 10% of her whole allowance. 80 cents plus $8 is $8.08.
Okay, you guys you're just cruising on these. Let me know if you need anything more challenging. I don't want to give you anything too How you doing? Whoa, you're just...
Well, we have a total of 120 students for the new population. So we should 820 divided by 100 would be 8.2, and 8.2 times 135% would be 1,107. But it says that the population last year is 135% of what it was this year. So, would that be higher or lower from last year?
Have you tried using the 2 unit squares? The background and screenshot to represent it? I think you guys are on the right track from what I hear you saying. And it might be easier to see if you have the 2 unit squares. Okay, so you know that this year it's 135% of what it was last year. And that's kind of what you're doing here, right? You shaded 135%? Okay. So go ahead and shade in 135% on here. Okay, so this represents 135%. Does this represent this year's population or last year's population? You all agree on that? I think that might be where we are